Had a better QBR, and is this guy, believe it or not. Let's get to the GOAT and all his 7 rings, considering all the storylines, leaving his coach, Foxborough, etc. Then beats Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes on his way to another championship. Max, do you feel like this was the best playoff run ever by a quarterback when we consider all the circumstances?
It would be if there was no such thing as Eli Manning. But clearly and by far, both of Eli's runs were better than Brady's this year. Clearly and by far. Let's start with the first one in 07-08, right? That run started on the road. And by the way, Eli, both times, had to go on the road the whole way. Not like Tom Brady, who got to host the Super Bowl. Eli was truly on the road the whole time. Game 1. Look, he didn't get to face a 7-9 team with Heineke as the quarterback, who was okay. He faced a 9-7 team with Jeff Garcia as the quarterback, who was a solid NFL quarterback with a real career as a starter behind him. Like, Eli's first round, 9-7, was tougher than Tom Brady's. Next round, you can look at Drew Brees and go, oh my God, the name on the resume. But guys, Drew Brees was no longer the great Drew Brees. Let's be honest. The Tony Romo that Eli had to face and beat at Dallas was a better quarterback that year than Brees was this year, who was also coming off of shattered ribs, a punctured lung, the whole thing. That's just a fact. Also, his team won 13 games. And then Eli goes up to Lambeau and beats Brett Favre at Lambeau when Brett Favre was still a great player, and then finishes it off. Who's the GOAT? Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady, in his best season, clearly and by far, with Randy Moss on the team. They were undefeated. Had they won that game, they were going to be universally accepted as the greatest team in the history of American team sports. Forget about the 27 Yankees. Forget about the 72-win Chicago Bulls. It was going to be the Patriots, and Eli beat that team. I'm sorry. Not as a 3-point underdog who really should have been favored, not because the line was all banged up, because he came up with clutch play after clutch play. I'll save 2011, which was also better, by the way. Alex Smith in San Francisco for a 13-win team. Aaron Rodgers with a 15-win team at Green Bay, and then Tom Brady again in the Super Bowl. Those are the 2 greatest postseason runs ever. And then comes Tom Brady this year.
Molly, tell me what you want me to say. Like, what?
I just want you to give me your visceral reaction to what you just heard.
I just
speak your mind. Speak from the heart.
Max, I'm praying that you're not doing this just because I'm on the show.
You better speak from the heart.
I'm praying that this is not just to get me worked up, because I know sometimes you know how to push my buttons, and but I'm gonna fall for it because you are out of your damn mind. You have lost it, Max Kellerman. You have lost your mind on this topic right here. You've lost your mind. And I know Stephen A. gone, but how in the world, bro, can you sit on TV and say what you just said? This man is 43 years old. He's 43 years old. 43. Max. Calm down, Marcus. A 43-year-old quarterback just led a team to a Super Bowl. A 43-year-old quarterback that left a team during a global pandemic with no offseason just led a team to the Super Bowl. A quarterback that you said sucked, that was done, just led a team that hadn't been to the playoffs in 11 years. Not sucked, fell off a cliff. 11 years, no Super Bowl, no playoff, to the Super Bowl, and won, and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The GOAT, Patrick Mahomes, that you said was the best you had ever seen with your own 2 eyes. He went to Lambeau, again, no all season, 43, global pandemic, and beat Aaron Rodgers. Max, you said nobody wants to go to Lambeau. And nobody's going to beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. That is why the Green Bay Packers are going to the Super Bowl. That was Max Kellerman. All right, cool. You say Drew Brees, name on the jersey. Might I add that the New Orleans Saints beat them 38-3 in the meeting they had during the regular season? So obviously, they made strides before the playoffs in order to win the game. Max, this is the most impressive Super Bowl win in the history of the NFL, bro. Some circumstances Tom Brady has no control over, but he played in a time where those circumstances were the problem, all right? So if I told you, if I said, let's forget about names, let's forget about everything you just said. If I said, Max, don't use your whole Columbia, try to switch things around on this situation. This is clear and plain. You know me. I'm a straight to the point, black and white type guy. All right. If I told you a 43-year-old quarterback was going to go to the Super Bowl with a new team that didn't have an offseason, that played the season in a global pandemic, that lost games in November, that everybody counted them out, went on to win the Super Bowl, and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who you deemed was about to be a dynasty, and you would tell me that that's not the best Super Bowl run?
No, hold on. There are many things to talk about here. Number one, what we've seen in the pandemic, everyone was playing in a global pandemic. What we saw was experience made a big difference. Like the teams who had been there made a big difference. The Dodgers had a lot of postseason experience. They won the World Series. The obviously LeBron James, a lot of postseason experience, won the championships. Same thing with Brady. Going into the season, many people picked the Bucs to get to the Super Bowl. It's not like no one did that. So the perception was they were a very good team, and Tom Brady was still perceived as an effective quarterback, whether or not elite. But he showed this year, as I had to admit, he was elite by the end of the year, threw 40 touchdowns, not a lot of interceptions. So they go into the playoffs in a global pandemic, that's true, but everyone was in that situation. Everyone was. They beat a 7-9 team on the road, but with a good defense. Okay, that's fine. They beat a Drew Brees team that was clear. Look, they beat them, and that counts. And Brees had a chance to win that game, and he didn't. But Brees is clearly done. That's why we're talking retirement. He was fine. He was an NFL quarterback, but he was no longer the great Drew Brees. Then he goes to Lambeau and beats Rodgers, who won the MVP, who's 37. And then he goes as a slight underdog against a Kansas City Chiefs team without an offensive line. At home, he beats them. Eli, on the other hand, for a 9-7 team that never looked elite that year, as I said, I'm just taking 07, but this applies to 11 too. Beat a better team with a better quarterback and a better record in the first round on the road. Beat a better team with at least a better quarterback with as good a record on the road. Beat Aaron Rodgers when he was in his prime the second time. Brett Favre the first time. Brett Favre won 13 games. Rodgers won 15, both at Lambeau, and then beat Tom Brady both times in the Super Bowl. The first time, Marcus, in 07, that was the greatest team of all time. And the GOAT, Tom Brady, had his greatest season. What?
Wait a second. Molly. I don't have return, so I can't see you. Molly, let me ask you a question, Molly. Please. Who won NFL MVP this year?
Tom Brady, as I predicted.
Yeah, Rodgers.
And won the Super Bowl as I predicted.
I'm talking about
31 points
the
as
season.
I predicted.
I'm talking about the season, Molly. Who was the NFL MVP?
Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers.
Who did Tom Brady beat on his way to the Super Bowl?
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers was 15-1 when Eli beat him.
And then Patrick Mahomes.
He was 15-1.
He was 13-3 this year. And league MVP.
So you want to call it comparable? So let's match it up. You want to call Rodgers at 15-1, Rodgers at 37 who won the MVP a comparable win? Fine. At Lambeau, fine. That actually is comparable. I give the edge to Eli, who beat a younger version with a better record, but let's call it a wash. Romo at 13 wins back then was a better version and a harder win, I think, than the Saints this year. Obviously a winning team with a name brand quarterback, better than a Washington win this year. And then the difference is the Super Bowl. Yes, you beat a Chiefs team with no offensive line, and you were at home. You were the first team to host a home game. Eli went on the road to beat your Tom Brady. Brady's greatest
Max,
season
who you
clearly
pick in the
was
Super
that
Bowl?
year. He had Randy Moss.
Who
They
you
were
pick?
undefeated.
Who you pick
and he
to win
threw
the Super
50
Bowl?
touchdowns. That was the greatest offense of
Who
all
you pick
time.
to win the Super Bowl?
And Eli outplayed him and beat him and won Super Bowl MVP.
Who did you
picked
pick?
the Chiefs.
Who did you pick to win the Super Oh, he picked the Chiefs. But now the Chiefs don't have an
Yeah, he picked
But I
offensive
thought
line.
they should be underdogs. I thought
Max,
Mahomes
stop
would have
with
to
the
come back,
foolishness.
have to come
You-
from behind.
Molly, please help
I
Molly.
can't control who gets
I'm not
hurt on
gonna
the
start
offensive
sweating.
line heading into the Super Bowl.
Listen, this show is not
gonna
about
do
my
it.
opinion. I
Hold
will
on.
say, full disclosure, I'm a Giants fan, but yeah, I'm not with you here on this one, Max. Strong case, but you can finish this up, Max.
The 85 Bears were the greatest
He's
team of all
43.
time until
He's
that Patriots team
43.
came around in 07. Everyone was about to call them not only the greatest team in football history, the greatest team in history, period. Tom Brady, the GOAT, was at his absolute best. He had the best team around him. They were huge favorites, and Eli won MVP by beating him. It's just, they didn't come in all banged up like the Chiefs. They came in crushing everybody.
You done, Marcus? Lost for words? Yeah. Okay.
Molly.
We'll let
Molly.
I'll let you breathe for a
Molly.
little if you need to. We can go to
Molly.
commercial. Tell me what you need right now.
Molly, let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
A quarterback in the NFL just won a Super Bowl at 43 years old.
Yeah.
And we gonna sit on this show
Yeah, who someone
and say
thought
that
fell
that's
off a
not the
cliff.
most impressive Super Bowl. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I can't do this
Of all
with Max.
people, I would have
season,
thought
and
Max
everyone
would have
knew-
said that.
I don't have it. Don't have it.
I agree.
don't have
That
it.
what
I
you're
don't
saying
have
makes
today.
it the third most impressive Super Bowl run ever, behind both by
Third
Eli,
most.
who beat Tom Brady in his
By-
prime.
But you
Eli's
doing it. You
first
do it.
two.
I'm
But
not
I will say
falling
this:
for it.
heading into
I
the
ain't doing it.
season, the Bucks were among the favorites because they were loaded everywhere,
I don't give
and
a
you
damn
all thought
what
Brady
they
was going to
were.
be great.
It don't
Well,
make
unexpected
it.
according
I don't
to you.
care
Let's
what
all
they-
take a moment.
I don't care what we thought.
Let's all take a moment. Let's take a pause. Let's
Please.
marinate on this. Let's do a
Please
little
give us a
commercial
moment.
break. We'll regroup.
I need it.
We'll come back. And we'll transition. All right. When we come back here, guys, Patrick Mahomes has a game to forget on the biggest stage. We'll find